folks. Welcome back to the official Utah County Republican Party podcast. I'm your host. I'm the party vice chair, Charles Max Wood, and I am here with Larry Evans. Larry is running for Commission Seat A.
Correct.
So those of you who are a little bit new, every 2 years we have one or two commission seats open for a 4-year term, and this year's one of the years we have two. So we have Seat A and Seat B. So you're probably going to hear from candidates who are running against Larry and some that aren't. And so just be aware that's kind of how that's going to go. We're trying, in the sense of fairness, I've offered all of the candidates the same length of time, whether or not we use it all. And then I'm asking mostly the same questions. I haven't given any of them the questions ahead of time. And I'm hoping to release all of these about the same time. And that way there's no favoritism. You don't get an advantage because your video came out first. Okay. So once I release the ones I have, then the deal kind of changes. But I think you lose advantage for not having it out as long. But, you may gain some advantage because you can go watch the video and know what the questions are.
Right.
So anyway, we're trying to keep it as fair as possible. But yeah, I'll just jump in, and to start out, the question I'm starting with is, tell us who you are, how you got involved, what you've done, offices you've held, or any relevant work experience you've had. And then on top of that, I'm also looking for, if let's say I show up at your house tomorrow, I come, I knock on the door, you answer the door, come on in, Chuck. What's that going to be like, right? Am I going to be tripping over kids? Am I going to be, it's all your dogs. It's just you and your wife, and it's like, hey, come eat something and then whatever. Anyway, so go ahead and let us know who you are.
Okay. Like I said, Larry Evans, grew up in Orem, went to Orem High School.
Me too.
Hey, there we go. Golden Tigger. We're both on the same page there.
Yeah.
Lived in Utah County with the exception of a year or two here and there. I served in the LDS mission, so I was gone for a couple of years, but I've lived around here all my life.
Uh-huh.
Been in law enforcement for 42 years. Currently a deputy with Utah County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
I worked for 26 years through Utah Department of Corrections as a probation parole officer.
Okay.
And then 2 years before that with a local police department. And then I taught for 12 years at Utah Valley University in the criminal justice program.
Oh, cool.
Currently sit on the state retirement board. My first term I was appointed by Governor Herbert. This current go-around I was appointed by Governor Cox. And so I've been on the retirement board for a little over 8 years.
Okay. What do they do?
They oversee the state retirement system. So state employees, county employees, city employees, they're in the retirement system.
Okay.
We oversee that money, make sure the money is invested properly, and then the money's there when people retire.
Yeah, my mom's looking to retire as a school teacher, so
that's part of it as well. I represent public employees. I used to be the president of the Public Employees Association, and there is also, a member on there from Utah Education Association representing the teachers. So the rest of the board is made up of investors, so we're just kind of the people representing the employees.
Gotcha. I'm going to adjust your mic real quick.
Okay.
Just turn it a little bit more towards you. Move you a little closer. There you go.
Okay. Have a bachelor's degree from Brigham Young University in criminal justice. I have a master's degree from Weber State in criminal justice as well.
Okay.
Ran for the state legislature once before, unsuccessfully, and they've been involved with the party, served as a party chair, and just been involved with the party pretty much most of my life.
Oh, good deal. The county party?
Yes.
Okay.
Not as much as I am now, obviously, but yes. So, came to my home, pretty quiet. My two boys have identical twin boys. They're both adults now, and I have 5 beautiful granddaughters. So I raised boys, and now I'm figuring out what estrogen is all about. But I love them dearly. So it'd be just me and my wife, just a quiet. And you'd get a chance to listen to some good music. We both love good music. She's learning to play the cello, so we both really like that kind of music, symphony kind of stuff.
Oh, good deal.
I've run successfully 35 full marathons, probably twice as many halves. participated in some ultras as a pacer for some other people.
Oh, good deal.
So that's kind of my stress relief.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. I ran the Mesa Marathon last month.
Oh, did you really?
I did. That was my second. I'm running the Utah Valley Marathon in June.
Okay.
And then I'm trying to figure out how I can complete the 7 majors.
Oh, wow.
So
That's quite an ambition. I've done St. George 25 times, L.A., Boston,
that was my first
San
one.
Diego, Phoenix, Orlando, Big Sur. Kind of bounce around a little bit. Still have a few on the bucket list, but 2 brand new knees maybe slow me down a little
yeah, I'll bet.
bit. But love that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and for me it's the same. It's like, oh, everything's wrong, and then I'm like, I should go for a run. I don't feel like going for a run, and then I go for a run and I feel better.
better. Leave the phone home, leave the pager home, whatever, and just go de-stress.
Yeah.
That's me too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I usually take my phone so I can listen to a book or a podcast or something while I go. But yeah, then you can just kind of turn it off, hit your rhythm, and just go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
that's my nirvana.
Awesome. All right. Well, all the rest of the questions are about the job. So
Okay.
I'm just going to dive in and ask them. I've had a little help on some of the other interviews with Bill Lee, but he wasn't able to make it today. So
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm going to start with the 4 that I keep either have people ask me, well, what do you think? And, what should I be asking them about with this?
Sure.
And then, or I've been hearing them ask all the candidates.
Yeah.
And so they probably won't surprise you.
Okay.
The first one is the Utah County Commissioner's salary has increased over the last 5 years from $119,000 to $170,000.
Correct.
So that's almost a 50% increase in about 5 years.
Right.
Do you support that kind of an increase? And do you think the salary is too high, too low, or just right?
I think the salary's too high. Certainly, I haven't been a commissioner. I know there's a workload, and there's a real learning curve with becoming a commissioner. I've never been a commissioner before, so I'll be the first to tell you there's a learning curve.
Oh, absolutely. I've been talking to a whole bunch of other people that have worked in the commission office or been commissioners, and what do you ask? And they're telling me stuff, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm learning some of that too. I've been going around visiting the different offices and the different department heads to try to get kind of up to speed a little bit. But from my standpoint, that's excessive. That's way too high. The reason I threw my hat in the ring, quite frankly, is I've been in public service for 42 years. I really like to serve people. I didn't get in law enforcement to write tickets or do those kind of things. I got in it to serve the people of the county and make life better. And this, when I put my hat in the ring, and there was an offer to the residents of Utah County to serve them,
Right.
to make their life better, to try to ensure the quality of life we have here continues. And so it's not about money, but I think that's way too much. I would like to see that reduced, quite frankly.
So whereabouts would you put it, or how would you figure that out?
Well, and we may talk about this later in the interview, I would like to see the county government change to have a 5-member
That's
commission.
another one of the questions. Yep.
Okay. To where you could be more part-time, where it wouldn't take as much time,
Okay.
where 3 are. And I think that salary ought to be adjusted appropriately. I think somewhere in the ballpark of $80,000 to $100,000 is more than adequate.
Okay.
Because I read some material for another candidate for one of the other things, said I quit my job to do this. This shouldn't be a job. I mean, you gotta pay the bills, you gotta feed your family, but this should be an opportunity to serve the people of Utah County, and so that's kind of my take on it.
Okay. So if you get in, you're going to be looking to find a way to lower it then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that I got that clear.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, if I ask you questions like that, they're generally not gotcha questions so much as just, okay, let's just be clear what you're saying.
Sure.
The next one is that the commission approved a 67% property tax increase in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
They did another 48% one in 2024.
Right.
Do you support those kinds of increases, and do you feel like our property taxes are too high, too low, or just right?
Well, any property tax, I think, it'd be nice if we could eliminate them totally. What people don't realize is they look at the property tax amount. That Utah County only gets 7% of that amount.
Mm-hmm.
On a $40,000 home, I think the county's take on the property tax is like $142.
Right.
Yeah, the school district gets 71% of the tax dollars. It costs money to run a government,
Right.
and the cost goes up. All you got to do is go to the gas pump today and find out the cost of doing business for everybody.
I was on the phone with my wife. Did
Yeah.
you see the gas price?
I just came back from California. It's over $5 a gallon down there.
And my wife's heading there next week, and she's like, "It's gonna kill me driving around down there."
Yes, it is. So, I pay taxes too.
Yeah.
My kids and my grandkids
Right.
pay taxes, and I'm not dodging the question. I just want you to understand that I know that we try to be as lean as we can. Part of the problem when you don't keep up with inflation. So I've had people say, "Well, I promise never to raise property taxes the 4 years that I'm there." Well, sounds good, but at some point you're going to have to pay the piper. So my feeling is if we make gradual increases as they're needed to meet the growing costs of doing business, that that amount is fair. I think what we've got right now is fair, and there's probably going to be some more tax increases as we go forward because the cost of doing business is going up.
Okay.
But I've promised this, and that's part of that learning curve we talked about, to explore alternatives to maybe reduce that property tax bite. There's discussion of raising sales tax 0.25% to maybe reduce that bite. I've looked a little bit at talking to the assessor's office. Don't feel like businesses are paying their fair share of property tax. There's a couple of reasons for that. I just think we need to level the field a little bit, look for creative alternatives. I wish I could tell you we were going to eliminate property tax. That would be
Right.
blowing smoke, and I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing you find during this interview is if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know.
Right.
And the things that I promise people during my campaign are things that I can do.
Right.
Other things are things that are my priorities that I'm going to push the commission to try to do and to accomplish. But to tell you that I'm going to eliminate property tax, again, is blowing smoke, and it just isn't going to
Right.
happen.
Well, I have to say that. So when I was first a delegate, it was like, well, who knows these things the best, and who's gonna, there was some who's gonna make the best judgment call, but a lot of it was just who's the best qualified based on what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And as time's gone on, I've realized that they may know it, but they're not going to make the right call, no matter how well they know it. And so I tend to, if I ask you a question you don't know the answer, or ask you about something you don't know about, I'm going to explain it because I want to know how you think about it and how you approach the stuff.
Sure.
Much more than I want to know whether or not you have a handle on some esoteric thing.
Okay.
So, and then I encourage other people to do that too, right? Now, hopefully the candidates are doing their homework and they know this stuff, right? And that's the other thing, right? Is if I ask you about something and you go, well, I don't even know what that is, and then we discuss it, and then somebody goes to the meet and greet on Saturday and comes up and says, I saw that, well, the interviews won't be out by Saturday, but they come up to you at a meet and greet and they say, well, what do you know about whatever it is now?
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we're seeing you go, well, I talked to Chuck, and then I went and did a bunch of research, and so now I understand that this does this and that does that, and so we have to do things this way.
Sure.
And so, anyway, I'm not. Some of the questions when I initially put them together was like, well, what do you know about? And then I was like, I'd much rather have them talk about, okay, this is my philosophy on this kind of a thing.
Sure. And I'm good with that. Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing that I didn't feel like you were super clear on was a 67% increase or a 48% increase in property tax. What?
Yeah, without looking at the numbers that time, how the increases had been, that sounds a little high to me.
Mm-hmm.
It does. I think if you do raise them, they need to be incremental to what the costs are increased. So those seem to me a little bit high,
right?
Based on what I know right now. Now, if you wait 3 or 4 years and before you raise taxes, you may get a bump like that just to catch up.
Okay.
And so you just have to keep up with the costs and just run as lean as you can. Be as smart as you can, consolidate where you can, and because it's the taxpayers' money, and that's part of that transparency that we talk about before you do that. And I noticed the state legislature just passed a bill this last session the governor just signed about the requirement now for counties and cities and other taxing entities to be more transparent and to let the taxpayers know well in advance that they're even considering a tax increase, and so that they're not caught off guard, so they have a chance for input, so they have a chance to listen to what the people of Utah County have to say.
Yep, absolutely. So I have been asking for a commitment from the candidates, and the commitment is either to not raise property tax for the term that you're in office, and some people say, well, there's a 3-person commission. So I'm asking for you to vote no on property tax increases for the duration of your term, or to only raise the tax rate at the inflationary rate, with the base year being this year.
Well, I'm not going to commit that I won't raise taxes in a 4-year period because I don't know how the costs are going to adjust.
Right.
But yeah, I'm comfortable with that second concept. Yes, I am.
Okay, so you commit to not raise it beyond inflationary rate.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that I'm hoping to come across. Like, some of my opinion's going to come through.
Sure.
But I want all these interviews to be kind of as even as possible, and then the delegates can decide if that commitment's what they want, if that's good enough, or because we've had some that won't commit to anything. We've had some that'll commit, to no tax raises, and so it's just interesting to see where this all comes down.
Yeah.
All right, so the commission office, several years ago, the commission office was the 3 commissioners, and then they had allocated to the budget enough to pay a senior policy advisor. So you had 6 people in commission office, 3 commissioners, 3 senior policy advisors. Now the number has gone up. I've heard anywhere from like 15 to 17 to 20 people in the commission office doing various things, up from that 6 number of 6 people. My understanding is that the salary requirements for those people is ballpark $500,000.
Okay.
So how do you feel about the growth of the commission office, and do you feel like that's appropriate?
Well, the numbers I've heard is as high as 24.
Okay.
So, and that's just, for lack of a better term, hearsay, but I know it's above 20.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a firm number from anybody.
I know a gentleman addressed Commissioner Powers the other day and said that there was like 24 or 26, so I don't know. That's way too many. Okay, the commission ran before with 6. I can't tell you what the magic number is, but I know one of the advantages I have over some of the other candidates, I mean, they may have some experience in other things, but every day I see the departments because I work the county sheriff's office, and I go around the office. I'm not on foot patrol. I'm not out on the streets. I'm security for the county administration building, the health and justice building. So I see how those departments run: nursing, health administration, public works. They run lean. And for the county commission to have that kind of growth and that kind of, for lack of a better term, fat at the top, bothers me a lot. So there needs to be some cuts there. And I understand we're talking about people's jobs. People have families. There's ways that you can absorb them, maybe when there's vacancies in the county. Certainly don't pay that kind, but be a little bit considerate of that. But it's got to cut. That's way too high.
I guess the other question is then, where do you think is appropriate, or how do you figure that out?
Well, the only way to know that is to start doing the job. But I know that they've functioned with those 6 for a long time and done it very effectively. Yeah. And so I think that's where I would start, is go back to that base level. If after a while it looked like we maybe needed to bump it in small increments to where you could do the job effectively. That's way too much fat at the top.
So I guess the other question is let's say you get in there and it sounds like you're willing to, relocate people, find them another job at the county. But if you can't do that, are you ready to fire people? Because like you said, it's people's jobs.
Yeah, lay them off, sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The other question is, and that's the one that you were talking about earlier, is the shape of the commission. So I've heard a number of different structures keep the 3, right? But I think we've seen some issues there where, maybe we have commissioners who are unable to attend meetings. I mean, I'm thinking Tom Sakovich with his health problems right before he resigned finally. I miss that guy.
Yeah.
We did scouting together, and
He's
every
good.
time I talk about him, I'm just sad.
He's a good man. Yeah.
And then you've got, but there were others, right, that just didn't show up to the meetings, or, all kinds of other issues. They had other scandals and things that they were dealing with. And so that's 1/3 of the commission. And, if there are only 2 commissioners there and they don't agree, then it doesn't pass.
Yeah, then you have stalemate, yeah.
But then, 5, I think, presents a different set of problems. It may solve some of these, and it may be better, or it may not be. But there's 5, and I've heard 5 full-time and 5 part-time. And then I've also heard people talk about how there should be 5 districts for the 5 commissioners, or that maybe there should be 3 districts for 3 of the commissioners and 2 at large. And then the mayor council. So you sounded like you were in favor of 5, but what does that look like?
Well, to me, the 5 would be, my initial thought was 4 by district and then 1 in at large. But after traveling over to Eagle Mountain and Saratoga Springs and some of that area over there that I haven't visited for a while, I think 5 districts, the county split up 5 ways, because the issues in Saratoga Springs certainly are different than the issues in Goshen and Alberta.
Right.
And so one of my concerns is when you get commissioners, how many ever there are, if you had 5 commissioners from Provo-Orem, they're not going to be in tune with what's going on in the south end of the county. And so I would do it by district, whether they went 4 and 1 or 5 districts. I don't have a real strong opinion. I'm not a big fan of the mayoral commission setup. That's just a personal bias. The thing with that particular issue is that's nothing I have any control over, because that's a ballot initiative.
Correct.
What I will promise to do if I'm elected is to push that forward, so whatever the options are for the voters, and let them decide what the form of government is they want. That I will promise.
Yeah.
But my bias would be 5 with 5 districts elected from those different areas.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to weigh in heavily on this one, but the one that scares me the most is the mayor council. I mean, we see what goes on in Salt Lake County, and it's like, it might be different here, but I think that's a cautionary tale for us.
It is for me as well. Yeah.
So, the other ones, we can argue all day as to whether they should be full-time or part-time and where the district should be.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's my feeling, just from watching the commissioners from a distance, and I'll admit that's from a distance, I think if you went to 5, you could definitely go to part-time.
Maybe.
I think you do. And that's where you could reduce some of the costs of going to 5.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not going to weigh in on that because we've gotten different opinions on some of those. Now, the county's a part of a number of associations, right? It costs thousands, tens of thousands, over 100,000 in some cases, to be members of these groups, right? These associations. I think the big one that people talk about is the Utah Association of Counties, but I'm aware that some other folks are members of some other associations. So do you think it's an appropriate use of public funds? And if so, or if not, how do you decide?
Well, I think you have to look strictly at the cost-benefit ratio. I mean, there's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of organizations you can belong to, and same thing in law enforcement. So what you look at is what does belonging to that association do for Utah County and the residents of Utah County? Not what it does for Larry Evans, but what it does for the residents of the county. So, yeah, I would have to weigh it just on that cost-benefit ratio. So I can't give you a blanket answer on all of them because I don't think it fits all of them. But I think there's some, my feeling is there's some that we could cut and reduce that maybe is duplication of services or maybe a little too much outside involvement. But that's my take on it.
But it sounds like there might be other ones that you'd be inclined to at least consider keeping.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, I mean, in the technical field that I'm in, we don't really have an association that way. But, I mean, you go to the technical conferences and some of the other things where you kind of get to rub shoulders, and
Yeah.
sometimes you get the opportunity as a group to speak to the people who are making the technology and making the decisions that affect the community.
Yeah.
And so that's effective.
It
Right?
is. Yeah.
But and you get the training you need, right? Because they provide some of those services too. And so I can see where it is attractive and makes sense to be a part of some of them. But yeah, it also depends on the cost, because some of them, even if you get all of that, what they want in order for you to show up is just isn't worth it.
Yeah. We go to some conferences with the State Retirement Board, and you learn best practices and things like that. So in some of those, if you're, like, say, if you're selected, there is a benefit to the county. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's talk about money.
Okay.
So first of all, the county budget is hundreds of millions of dollars.
158 million last time I looked.
Yeah, I've heard a number of different numbers there, anything up to like 200 million, but yeah, I think that's high from what I'm gathering. Anyway, so if you're going to deal with that amount of money, would you allow a group to obtain your personal credit score?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with people know my personal credit score.
All right. And then the other question is, have you ever filed for personal or business bankruptcy?
No.
All right. Those were easy.
Yes, they were. I like those kind of questions.
Yeah, pretty simple. But at the same time, I mean, you're going to be managing that money, and so
They're fair, they're fair
it's
questions.
good to know.
Yeah, they're fair questions.
Even if there's not a whole lot to elaborate on there.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So the other question related to money that's kind of direct is setting the county budget's one of the things that the commissioners do, right? And so there are a bunch of different budgetary methods that are out there, right? And I have a list here, but line item budgeting, performance budgeting, program budgeting, zero-based budgeting, priority-based budgeting. Any of those leap out at you as the way you would go? How do you decide how you put that budget together?
The one that jumps out at me is priority budgeting. You look at the needs of the county, because those change all the time. I mean, you look
I'm
at
sure.
COVID, what it did to us. So to me, that's where you need to focus, is on the priorities of the county, because it's, as we look at our growth and some of the social issues and those things we really haven't talked about in the campaign, the homelessness, the drug issues, those kinds of things. Those can drive some of those budget decisions. And so, yeah, I tend to lean towards priority budgeting.
Okay. I guess the other question that I've been asking in relation to this is, I'm sure the different departments come and say, well, we really need this and this and this, and it's high priority. And then, so the sheriff's office comes and, right, we need better equipment, or we need modern equipment, or, we had something break and we need a new one. And then the auditor's office comes and says, well, we've got to do all this stuff, and so we need new software. And then the clerk's office comes in and said, some of the voting machines are busted, we need some more of those. And so at some point, you only have so much budget.
You do.
And everybody wants their piece so that they can do what they're doing.
Sure.
And then on top of that, a lot of people compare it to a corporation, but the difference is that typically, if I'm working in the finance office, the CFO hired me, or my boss, or my boss's boss. But in our case, the CFO was elected by the people.
Yes.
So's the chief security officer, the sheriff, right? So's the, some of these other folks, the clerk, the assessor, the recorder, the surveyor. And so, they were elected to do things that people wanted them to do.
Sure.
And so how do you weigh all of that and go, okay, you know what? The sheriff gets what he needs because, that's the most important, and then you get down to the assessor and it's like, well, we're going to do the best we can for you this year.
Yeah.
Right. That's not going to be easy, I can't imagine. But how do you figure that out?
Well, again, you have to prioritize. I mean, just because the sheriff needs it doesn't mean that it's a higher priority than the assessor's office. It may be, a new side-by-side or something that they can do without for a year, or till the money's there to do that. Certainly, you don't sacrifice public safety over the budget. So you kind of have to look at what it is they're asking for. But it's a priority system based on what is the most important to the people of Utah County. And then you try to streamline in other areas, cut costs other areas where you can, to accommodate the assessor's office, whoever. I don't know that it happens a whole lot with the county, but when I worked for the state, I retired as a regional administrator for adult probation parole, which took in Utah, Wasatch, Juab, and Miller counties, as well as the diagnostic unit of the prison. At the end of the year, I would have to count for my money, and if let's say I had a $500 or a $5 million budget, turn $300,000 back at the end of the year because I didn't need it. The following year, they'd cut my budget by $300,000 because you didn't need it last year, you don't need it this year. You can't do business that way.
Right.
You encourage your people to be lean as they can, to combine services where they can, and then reward them for being, smart economically. I know that's diverting from what you asked, but I think there's other places you can make some cuts and maybe shift some of that money, with the understanding, health department director, just because we're taking from your budget because you have a little extra right now, doesn't mean I'm going to shortchange you next fiscal year.
Right.
And so, and like I say, I have the advantage of working with these people every day, the health department. My feeling is from working with them that they're more than willing to help the guy across the street meet his needs, as long as he doesn't take away from what he wants or needs to do. Not necessarily wants to do, but needs to do.
Right. I guess the other thing that you can see on the other end is, you set the budget, you allocate the money, and then something comes up, right? So, a few months down the line, a vehicle breaks down for one of the departments.
Right.
And so it's, that department needs that vehicle.
Yeah.
And so then you've got to move money around, and that's kind of what you're talking about there too, where it's like, look, we're gonna have to pull some of this that you're not using right at the moment and put it over here.
Yeah. But we're not going to take it from your budget permanently. It's not going to be an ongoing cut. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's get into your time commitment.
Okay.
So, one of the things we've seen in the past is that people were trying to run their business and be a commissioner.
Right.
But this is a full-time thing.
It is.
And so, do you have any outside business interests or hobbies or anything else that you spend your time on that take you away from dedicating full-time to Utah County?
No, other than running. Like I said, I work at the sheriff's office. Like I said, I've got 42 years of experience, 42 years in the field. So if I felt like I needed to retire and just focus on the commission, I could do that, and I would do that. I made that commitment to myself and to my wife when we made this decision to put our hat in the ring, is that if I got elected and felt like, to be fair, to serve the people, again, that's going back to what I really believe, then I would retire from the county and go to just commit 4 years to the county.
All right. Trying to decide what to ask next. So, one of the things that concerned me, just looking back on some of the decisions that have been made, was in 2020, Governor Herbert put a lot of pressure on the commission to pass a mask mandate during COVID, 2020.
Yeah.
And two of the commissioners voted to pass the mask mandate. How do you feel about those kinds of mandates, and what's your philosophy on that kind of thing?
Well, nobody likes to be told what to do, but there are times when you have to surrender some personal freedoms for the well-being of the whole.
Okay.
I know lots of guys who want to drive 130 miles an hour on the freeway and say that should be my right as a free citizen, but that's not the case. You have to give up some of those individual rights, or at least surrender part of them, for the good of the whole. The mask mandate, it was difficult. My wife is a nurse, so she had some strong opinion, as did I. I had a hard time with the mandate. I understood the reason for it. I wore a mask. There's times I didn't, but for the most part I did. I just think that there are times you have to surrender those personal freedoms for the good of the whole. And so I would have voted for the mandate, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, and to a certain point, I kind of understand, because they were talking like it was going to kill a zillion people. But on the other hand, yeah, at what point do you leave it up to the citizens versus making
Yeah.
it a mandate?
Sure. Well, and you got to remember, this is kind of a new thing for us. This pandemic.
Hmm.
And I will tell you, based on things that I'm reading and understanding, it's not the last time we're going to have a pandemic.
Right.
Okay. So we learned some things from the first one. It was a new thing to us. I think we learned some things that'll be maybe do us better the next time, if there is a next time. And you're right, it didn't live up to its billing of how many people it was going to kill, but it killed a lot. A lot of people died because of it. My next door neighbor was one of them, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, you find out all the lies they told, and so people have. I know people that were hardcore that moderated. It was like, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't have gone as hard.
Yeah.
But initially you don't know. I guess the other question is, because there were some other things, right? So the health department made restaurants space people out or close.
Mm-hmm.
They only allowed certain businesses to stay open. So like Home Depot and Lowe's were open, but some of the smaller stores couldn't. I'm trying to think what else. 6 foot distance.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I was sitting over here in the park with my sister, and we were just chatting. I was going over to her house like every other week, but I can't remember if it was police or somebody else, a sheriff. They came and they made us move apart.
Oh, really?
And so I'm just wondering, the mask mandate, but what about these other things? Would you have mandated any of those?
No.
Okay.
And I've never heard a story like that.
Yeah.
I've covered that someone came and told you had to separate a little bit. Okay, that's an
Well, my answer was, let's go to your house.
Yeah.
Because you live like half mile from here.
Yeah. I would have asked those businesses to do everything they could to make the environment as safe as they could for the people that went there.
Mm-hmm.
And make the people that go there understand that there are limits on what they can do, and let them make the decision whether they came in to the restaurant or the business.
All right. Yeah, I guess the other one was they told us we couldn't go to church. That one made me upset.
Yeah.
The other one was, and it was somewhat controversial because they had a bunch of people there yelling at them when they did it, but the commission approved a cooperative agreement with ICE.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been trying to stay away from the federal issues here. I think
Sure.
I think the federal issues, because a lot of the news pundits talk about it all the time, it kind of overwhelms the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, but the commissioner doesn't do any of those things.
Right.
But in this case, they made that agreement. So what's your take on that agreement, and how do you feel about it, and about immigration in general?
Well, ICE serves a vital role in this. I just think that ICE right now is marching orders are a little heavy-handed.
Okay.
From my standpoint in law enforcement, I think they're a little heavy-handed. I think that there's a necessity for immigration. Our country has needed immigration reform for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had a son that served a mission in the Philippines. I went over to pick him up and talked to some great people over there with some great skills. I've been waiting 7 and 8 years for just a chance to get a work visa.
Right.
And so the kind of the joke was, well, just get an airplane ticket, fly Tijuana, and then slip across the border.
Mm-hmm.
So we've needed to change things for a long time. I don't think you benefit by vilifying and the people who are here illegally. I mean, we need to stop the flow of illegals into the country, no question. And
Right.
we need to do what we can to close Pandora's box. I'm not sure if that's possible, and make things as whole as we can. But again, that's outside my purview as a commissioner. But that's Larry Evans' personal view on it.
Would you have approved this cooperative deal?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I read it, and I know Sheriff, and the idea was we want to be law-abiding, we want to cooperate with other law enforcement agencies, but it's got to be in a fair, even-handed type approach, not some of the other stuff that they've been doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about agricultural protection?
That's a biggie with me in my campaign. We've got to protect the farmers and the orchard owners, particularly those, mostly is the South End, the county where that, the green belt and those kinds of things, they're just encroaching on them.
Yeah, there are a bunch of people over here on the west side of the lake too.
Yes, there are. Yeah, And I think that's what makes this county so great, is the diversity. And I think we do a disservice if we allow those folks to be pushed out and to be, run out of business. So my commitment as if elect to be commissioner is do everything in my power to protect those people and their farms and the family farms and the orchards.
Right. Yeah. I did a little research. I'm just going to state it instead of trying to ask you what you know about it. But it's my understanding that there are some protections, like the Greenbelt protections, that give them specific rights as farmers, and as long as they're growing stuff.
Right.
But then there are other protections that give them, for example, you can get your property tax lowered to like your 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th year crop yield, right? So you're paying your property tax rate on that instead of on what your land's worth, right?
Okay.
And just as an example, my wife's cousin lives just right over by UVU. They own a dairy farm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And and so paying the tax on that at the property value has just got to be insane.
Sure.
And so it's like, hey, well, if you want to keep farming here, then you promised to keep farming for the next 20 years, and we'll give you this break on your taxes, because then you get what you want. You get to keep farming, and
Right.
and we get what we want because you're there, and you're not going to cash out on us later.
Right.
And so anyway, a lot of that makes sense to me too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I had not heard that particular aspect, that they would tax you on maybe what you made as a farmer 8 years ago. But I know there's a great reduction. It's based
Yeah.
not on property value, but on that green belt
Yeah.
formula. And I'm all in favor of that. I think those folks need our protection.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about living here is, if you live on that land and you want to do something on that land like that, then we should enable it. And when the government gets in the middle of making it so that you can't do that, that's ugly, right? So I don't know if you watched Yellowstone,
No.
the TV show, but in the last season, sorry folks, it's been out for a while, so I'm gonna spoil it. At the end of the next to last season, John Dutton, who's kind of the main character, Kevin Costner, is murdered.
Okay.
And then his kids, the last season is his kids kind of wrapping up his legacy, and all the crazy violent stuff that's in that show. But also they wind up losing the ranch because they have to sell off more than they can actually afford to pay the estate tax, right? And then anyway, so they do some other things. I won't spoil that part, I guess. but it's that kind of a thing, right? Where it's like, okay, well, your property tax is going to be so high that you can't afford to stay here.
Right. Yeah.
Or, you got to break up your farm to pay the estate tax. That just seems immoral to me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and again, one of the things in my literature is that we need to protect those folks. We also need to protect some of our elderly, some of the people on fixed incomes. I mean, there's been a push at the legislature to eliminate the circuit breaker option for people who makes under a certain amount of money
with their property taxes
Yeah.
and things. Yeah.
And that's a shame. These folks have lived and contributed to this county for years and years. We need to try to help them where we can. So, and that's part of the group, as well as the farmers, that I think we need to work on taking care of.
It's not so much help them where they can as much as just, again, the government is actually making it harder for them to live by doing what it does.
Yeah.
And I agree. If it's, their property tax even goes up, an extra, what amounts to $20, $30, $40 a month. I mean, that's, for some of them, that's a week's worth of groceries.
That's huge. Yeah.
Right. So, yeah.
Yeah.
What about water? We're talking about agriculture. What about water?
Well,
we had a banner year this year.
Yes. It's going to be a really interesting summer.
Yeah.
For all of us. We need to a good job of protecting the water for the county. And I will tell you, quite frankly, I don't have a whole lot of information on, the water. If you ask specific questions, I'm sure I have a good answer for you, because that's just some stuff I'm wading into. I've had people ask about, people wanting to put data centers and AI centers and things in the county. And I know a lady at one of the meetings the other day said Texas Instrument wants to drill a well in American Fork and take a large amount of money or water for their I have a problem with that. We have to.
Yeah.
It's people Utah County first. Business stand at the back of the line, and so I'm not in favor of those kind of businesses that will take away that that precious resource. Anything other than that, if you got specific questions, I'll glad to answer them if I know. But
I don't.
That's
I'm
about
still,
all I know at this point. To be honest with you,
I'm still learning about it. It's
Yeah.
every time I learn something about it, I find out that there's a ton more that I don't know.
Yeah,
And the cities manage a lot of the water,
They do.
right? Like
They
I talk
do.
to my city council members, and yeah, they're talking about all the water storage that the city owns.
right.
And so I think the county does help with it in some ways, right? Like I think some of it they push some water into the aquifer under the county and things like
Right.
that, but
They
I
do.
don't know enough about it to really speak
Yeah.
to it.
And I don't know how much impact the county commission has over that either.
I think there's some. I
Yeah.
think there are a lot of players, and I think the county commission is one of them.
Right.
But I don't know who all of them are
Yeah.
because there's a water district, and
Yeah.
then there's the cities, and
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
In rural counties, it's different because
It is.
they have their own water district, and they kind of manage it all on kind of the same level.
Yeah.
I hear all about it. My father-in-law lives in Emery County, and so
Oh,
I hear,
does he? Okay.
I hear about that. It's like I was like, oh yeah, water, and he's like, yeah, we got a water district.
Yeah.
It seems pretty simple out there. It's not here.
Yeah. No.
So yeah. So let's talk a little bit about sales tax.
Okay.
So there's the sales tax rate that's set by the county,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the city set their sales tax,
Right.
Right. And then on top of that, the states allowed the county to levy a couple of other sales tax.
So yeah.
So one of them is the TRCC, that's the Tourism, Recreation, Cultural Arts, and Convention Center tax.
Right.
And so whatever your sales tax rate is, wherever you're shopping, right? So you go to Walmart in Saratoga Springs, you're paying their city's sales tax rate plus everything else. You go to American Fork, you're paying their cities plus everything else.
Right.
The TRCC is specifically on like food, and I guess there's a TRT tax that goes on like hotels.
Right. Night
And-
stay at hotels. Yeah.
Right. And then, the TRCC I think applies to other things, but it's generally food that you pick up at the restaurant or the gas station.
Right.
So what that's earmarked for is to go back into tourism and recreation and cultural arts, and it
Right.
does pay part of running the convention center in Provo.
It does.
So yeah, and I'm aware that some of it goes to like the cities all get a cut of it for parks and stuff.
They do.
But how would you prioritize using that money?
Well, again, it's an issue of prioritizing the most bang for your buck. I know, for example, part of that money goes to the museum up at Thanksgiving Point.
Uh-huh.
And so if that's the case, then maybe Thanksgiving Point needs to open it up to county residents to get maybe a discount on admission or whatever, so that the residents of Utah County that, shop in American Fork or Santaquin are getting some benefit from the taxes they're paying that are going to pay for that museum.
Mm-hmm.
This is a biosphere. We all live in this together, and
Yep.
I'm a big believer that it's teamwork. You all work together, and so you do it in a way, at least as best you can, so everybody benefits from the whole what everybody's contributing.
Right.
So I like sales tax in that everybody pays a portion of what we're doing. If you don't own property, you're not paying property tax.
Yeah.
If you're driving an electric car, you're not paying gas tax. So the sales tax to me is the most even way of doing it. Certainly, you raise those taxes, it impacts the poor and those on fixed incomes. But to me, that's the most equitable way of taxing people, because everybody's paying the same.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that they use the TRCC tax on is the Provo Airport.
Mm-hmm.
So they built it. They built 4 terminals. They actually put in 6 other, like electric and water and sewer. That's all there for another 6 terminals.
Yeah.
And so what the county did is it kicked in. I don't think it covers the whole cost.
It doesn't.
Right? Provo City has to pay part of it. But they kicked in $19.5 million initially. And then they agreed in an interlocal agreement with Provo City to pay an additional $3.5 million every year for 15 years for the airport. So what's your take on that?
Well, I have some real issues with some of the stuff at the airport. Certainly, the airport benefits everybody in Utah County. Okay, there's
If I can fly out of there, I'm flying out of there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I struggle with this a little bit because there's several candidates who have their hands in that process, and so I just think I'm not sure that was the best use of county money. I know when we built the convention center, there was promises to build parking and stuff that just have not come to fruition. That I think so. I'm not real comfortable with the amount of money that was spent on that without some better agreements and without some better understanding of where that money was being used and where it was being spent.
Yeah.
Now that I would tell you that I don't have a great deal of information on the airport and what went on with Provo City on that, but that's just based on what I know.
Yeah, I don't either. The part of it that made me a little uncomfortable too was that you basically promised future tax revenue that we haven't actually made.
Yeah.
And if another maybe more urgent or better need comes up for the next 15 years, that's $3.5 million that year that isn't going to go to
it's
it.
earmarked for something else, yeah.
So, I'm not saying that it's a bad use. I just, I worry about some of those things.
Yeah, as do I, yeah.
So the other one's the quarter-cent tax.
Okay.
So, effectively, again, this is on top of your city's tax rate and the county's sales tax rate. But they can add a quarter cent at a time, up to 4 times, and then they can add a fifth of a cent for the fifth, and so they call it the fifth or the fifth of the fifth or something like that. There's some funny name for it. But anyway, so each one is specified on how it gets divvied up, right?
Yeah.
So the first quarter goes to UTA. The second quarter gets divvied up, I think, between like the county and the cities and something else. And then the third quarter goes to something else. I think some of that goes back to UTA as well.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think one of them, part of it goes to Front Runner.
Yes.
And so what's your take on the quarter cent tax and how that money should be used? Because that's all earmarked for transit transportation.
Well, with the infrastructure problems we have in Utah County, I think that was money well spent. I drive down to University Avenue every day, and I cuss at them every time with some of the stops and the way they've directed traffic and stuff. But that's just a personal bias. I think that's money that's been well spent. I think they could have looked at maybe some alternatives, and I don't know what all of those are. I know I had a gentleman come up to one of the meet and greets, said they should have put a subway in, so it had less impact on the flow of traffic. Maybe a subway station.
That's one I haven't heard or thought about.
Yes,
I'm not going to opine on that.
I hadn't either. But that's one of the things that I've talked about is
outside the box.
I'll listen to whatever people have to suggest. Doesn't mean we can do it, but we'll listen. But yeah, the need for transportation was huge, and I think my personal opinion that was a wise investment in transportation. I'm sure that was the best use of the investment, but certainly a wise investment in that mass transportation. We needed that. Yeah,
I guess my question is, so the part of it that's discretionary for the county, how do you prioritize using it? Do you build, how do you decide, okay, we're going to build a bridge here or a road here or, enhance mass transit or something else?
Yeah. Well, again, it goes back to, and I hate to keep going back to that, is the priority budget. And you have to look where you're getting the most bang for your buck, number one, and number two, where the greatest need is. Who's bleeding the most, if you will. It's kind of triage. You go in and, okay, everybody's injured, but who's bleeding the most and who needs the most, and then we focus on them and then move on to the next one. So,
yeah. How do you find that out? Would you be looking for people to come and tell you? Or do you have some proactive way to go figure it out on your own? Or,
well, to begin with, it would be people coming to tell me what it is. That's one of the promises that I've made, and that is if I'm elected commissioner, my office will be open one day a week for anybody that wants to come visit with me without an appointment. Just come talk to me. Yeah. And I also think we need to continue to work as a group, the mayors and councils of the different cities, and so we're not reinventing the wheel every time we do something.
Right.
And making the best use of the money that's there for everybody. So, again, it's that prioritizing budgeting.
All right. What other questions do I have here? I think I've gotten through most of them. Ooh, here's a biggie.
Okay.
Well, we were talking about transit, so let me ask this one first, and then I'll ask the biggie.
Okay.
So, the Bus Rapid Transit, or the Utah Valley Express line that runs up University Parkway.
Yeah.
Do you think it's been a success or a failure? And, yeah, and why? Why would you think that?
Well, I'm not sure I can give you a good answer to that without looking at some of the studies on use of cars. Whether, I mean, the claim was, the bus would take 4 or 5 cars, off the road every day for those, whoever rides the bus. So there's fewer cars. I've never seen studies that have corroborated that claim. I watch buses go by every morning that are totally empty. So, again, without looking at the studies and the numbers, I can't give you an honest, fair answer to that. I think it's done some good. I really do. I think there's a lot of benefit that have come from Front Runner, particularly. I think has been a great asset.
Yeah, Front Runner, I think, is a different story.
Yeah, it is. Front Runner, I'm very comfortable with what Front Runner's done. The UVX one, I'd have to see some numbers before I could comment intelligently on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. So I was elected a delegate the election cycle right after it.
Okay.
And so people were talking about it a whole bunch. They hadn't finished building it at that point. But, yeah, it's definitely interesting to kind of dive into and say, okay, I'm sorry, my phone is just blowing up.
That's okay.
But it's dinging on that computer over there, so I can't turn it off.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'll have to do that after the call. But anyway, so yeah, so a lot of people were really concerned about the amount of money they put in, and then part of the issue was that the county was also helping finance some of the debt, which I don't love. It's like don't do the debt unless you have to do the debt.
Yeah.
And then they promised that the ridership would not be free ridership, right? So they wouldn't allow the students to just ride it for free, and then they wound up doing that. And anyway, so there were a number of promises that it felt like they didn't quite keep on it. But.
Yeah, and I don't know how that agreement actually worked. I know that there was some federal funds originally that helped augment the cost so that they could ride for free. But I've ridden it a number of times, and I've noticed there's a sign down at, I don't know if it's still there at the Front Runner station, that says beginning, what was it, August of last year or something, there are no more, it's not a free ride anymore, you have to pay for it. But
right.
They've never enforced that. I don't know why they put that sign up, but my understanding was that once those federal subsidies dried up, then it was supposed to be self-funded by people riding it.
Right.
And apparently they're not doing that, but I don't know the logic or the reasons behind that.
Yeah, I'm also aware that the county put some pressure on UTA to pay it off early because it let the county off the hook for some of it. So anyway, all right, here's the big question. This is one of my things that I see and I always wonder about, and that is RDAs, or redevelopment agencies, and tax increment financing, also known as TIFs. And usually what they do is they do one of these two things to get businesses to come in, or have somebody come and build a building or build houses or something like that.
Right.
How do you feel about those?
Well, I'm not opposed to dangling a carrot, if you will, to get a business to come in and build in my city or in my county. The problem has been that we've given away the candy store on some of those incentives. The county, not as much as the cities. I think the cities have, offered up more than they probably should have to get those people to come in. I'm not opposed to it philosophically. I just think you have to do a really smart job of what you offer. Be careful what promises you make, because it's like UTA and some of those things, paying them back. I just think that you have to be a little bit smarter in those kind of things. Not give away the candy store when you offer those kinds of incentives for people to come in, because then somebody else has got to carry that burden, and that's not fair to the taxpayers of the county and the cities.
Yep. So, just to give a little more context for people who are listening. So, a redevelopment agency is usually, they create kind of an independent district that manages some aspects of that, and they get a tax break and a bunch of other stuff going on while they build, right? Because it's, hey, people weren't building here, so we're going to get you to build here. Tax increment financing is similar, except it's more of an agreement on future taxes. So they get a tax break of a certain amount for a certain amount of time. Right. Sometimes it's graduated. Sometimes it's just low until it's over. Sometimes it's up to a certain amount.
Right.
And so, yeah. So what kinds of questions do you ask then, so you're not giving away the candy store? Like, what's your decision process on whether you say yes or no?
Well, I think the duration of the agreement. I know, for example, Costco in Spanish Fork, I think Spanish Fork is paying the utilities on the store for I don't know how many years as an incentive to come in.
Right.
What you look at is the duration and what the benefit to the city is, and to the county. Again, that's giving away the candy store. If a business really wants to come in, I think you can negotiate to where it is an incentive enough for them to want to come to Utah County, but not so much that it costs the residents of the city or the county. I can't give you an exact number, but if I was in a position to make those decisions, I'd have to look at what you're offering these incentives, what the benefit is, and the duration of those kinds of benefits. So,
yeah,
I know that's kind of a nebulous answer, but without looking at a specific proposal, it's pretty hard for me to say yay or nay.
Yeah, I can tell you specifically here in Lehigh, in the city council race, some of their approach to RDAs cost some people their seats.
Yeah.
On the city council.
Yeah.
Because they were giving out RDAs that people felt like those builders didn't need, right? It was profitable for them to build it there anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. One other question: who's your largest donor besides yourself?
I don't have one. Every penny that I've spent is mine.
Okay.
I haven't taken any donations, and I've made that promise to the voters at the meetings. Should we get a convention and for some unknown reason have to go to a general election because of signatures or whatever, then at that point, I think we'd obviously have to ask for donors. But right now, it's my dime.
All right. I think I've gotten to all of them except for the ones I saved for last. So, if you're elected commissioner, who will your boss be, and how do they hold you accountable?
The voters is my boss. How do they hold me accountable? They don't have to hold me accountable. I hold myself accountable. I will. This is an offer to serve the people of Utah County, and that's my intent. I can't please everybody, and I can't meet everybody's needs, but I can do. Number one, I can listen. And quite frankly, I think there's a real disconnect right now between the residents of Utah County and our Utah County Commission. And I'd like to see that change. I'd like to be out there, whether it's community meetings, whether it's holding commission meeting on a different day than Wednesday at 2 o'clock where more people can come. Move commission meetings around the county and do, meetings at city council time, bring the commissioners in so they can ask questions and listen to what the people have to say. I'm a term limit kind of guy. Okay. So, you talked about the council people in Lehigh City losing their job. My philosophy is one and done. I'll serve 4 years and then be gone. But I've had people say, no, you need to stay at least 2 because you'll get that institutional knowledge the first time and you need to be able to use it. This is not a job. This is not a career move. This is an offer for service. And so how am I going to be accountable? I'll listen to them, and I've found in all my years in law enforcement, when people had problems, domestic issues, all of them want most of the time is somebody to listen.
Yep.
And quite frankly, our county commission has not been listening, at least in my view.
All right. The second question is, county commission is a partisan race. So you're running as a Republican. Means you're putting on our jersey, you're playing with in our colors.
Right.
How does the party hold you accountable?
Well,
or how are you accountable to the party?
Well, I'm accountable to the party because I'm accountable to the people who live in Utah County.
Okay.
And they elected me as a Republican, and so I'm responding to the people of Utah County in the same way. I understand the need of the party. I understand the interests of the party, but when the day is done, I answer the people of Utah County. That's who my boss is. And I will take, direction and help from the party, and I will be, willing to sit down with the party and answer questions or talk with them. But at the end of the day, I serve the residents of Utah County, and that's not just the Republicans. One of my best friends is running as a Democrat, and we talk about differences. One of my biggest complaints right now is the lack of civility in politics.
Right.
Okay. I'm really tired of the name calling and the undermining people and making fun of people. That's not what this country is about. That's not what politics is about. I will respond to the Republican Party, but I serve the people of Utah County, not the Republican Party.
Right. Yeah. Well, on the point of civility, I actually agree, and I'm going to take just a moment of kind of personal privilege here, because what we're seeing is, again, in my opinion, it's the trickle down from the federal politics kind of overwhelming everything.
Yep.
And when we get down to the local issues, right, we all want water to come out of our tap. We want our kids to get educated, right? We want to have safe roads. We don't want crime in our cities. I mean, most of the stuff I think we probably align on, whether you're voting for a Trump or a Harris, right? Or, whether you would have voted for Trump, but you're a Republican that doesn't like the guy or whatever, right? And so, we need to take a step back and just recognize that probably on 80 to 90% of the issues, we're looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
And then, on the other 10% of things, then sure, let's have that debate.
Yeah.
Let's see where we can prevail. Let's see where we can make things better. But, I honestly think that most of my neighbors, whether they vote the same as me or not, are probably looking for the same kind of thing.
Yeah. And we can agree to disagree on some things.
Yeah. But if those are the things we agree on, then let's go arm in arm and do those.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. 100% with what you say. Yeah.
So anyway, so one last thing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you have a website or an email address or a phone number you want people to use to contact your campaign.
Yeah.
Maybe if they have deeper questions or other questions, or they just want to learn more.
Yeah.
Where do they get that?
My website is Evans, then the number 4, ucc.com.
Okay.
Okay. I have a email, which again is Evans for Utah County at Gmail, for UCC at Gmail. Those are the best places.
Okay.
Those are the best places.
Great. Well, if you have any more questions, reach out to Larry. Let him know.
Yeah, please do.
I'm assuming you'll be at the meet and greets and stuff, so that's another way you can find him. And thanks for coming.
Thank you for the opportunity.
All right.